So today I wanted to go over the eviction process in Northern Virginia. So what do you do if you have a tenant that isn't paying rent? So it's basically a five-step process. So the first step in that process is you are going to need to file a 5-day notice to pay or quit. You do have to do this through the courthouse and it gets delivered by the sheriff. So what that is a notice that's posted on the door that basically tells your tenants that they have 5 days and they either need to vacate the premises or get caught up on the back rent. If they still don't adhere to that, then the next step is the summons for unlawful detainer. So you have to go back to the courthouse and file for basically a trial or a court date. This is usually going to take place, I'd say, a minimum of 3 weeks from the time you file. It really depends on how busy the court is, and they'll give that date to you right then and there. The trial is step 3. So now you're going back to the courthouse. This will be for the third time, and you're going to appear in front of the judge, and he'll make a determination. Now, if the tenant does show up and disputes the eviction, then you're going to have a trial date, which is another appearance in front of the judge where he will hear both arguments and again make his determination. The next step, if you do receive judgment in your favor, so if at that first visit the tenant does not show and you are awarded judgment in your favor, then you can file the writ of possession. Basically what this gives you is the right to take back possession of the property, and what that does is sends the sheriff a notice where they are then going to reach out to you and schedule time to visit the property. Now, what the sheriff does at the eviction is physically evict the tenant. So if at this point, after all this, they still haven't vacated and they still haven't caught up on back rent, then the sheriff will show up. You'll also need to show up with a locksmith to change the locks at the time that they arrive. So in order to avoid all this, really the best thing to do is to find yourself a well-qualified tenant up front, which is actually something that we just so happen to be excellent in doing. We have a less than 1% eviction rate on all tenants we place. Something else to keep in mind regarding evictions: forced evictions are legal in Virginia. So what forced evictions are, you can't basically force them out one way or another. So you can't turn off all the utilities, turn off the electricity, turn off the water in the hopes that that's going to push them out. Secondly, you don't want to show up to their house and basically tell them to get out. Avoid those confrontations, especially if the proper law enforcement isn't there. And again, you need to run through the court system and allow it to run its course. So if those are things that if it sounds like a lot, or it sounds like a headache, or if you're not familiar with the process, it can be. It's a simple enough process, but it takes a significant amount of time and effort to get somebody out that isn't paying the rent. So again, if you want to avoid that, feel free to give us a call. Click on that blue Get a Free Quote button on our website. We can provide more information on eviction services as well as our other services, finding well-qualified tenant and property management in general.